Hey you guys, welcome to Eagle Cave. This is one of Wisconsin's largest caves, and they have everything here. It's like a resort place. I guess they have canoeing too, and ice skating during the winter, and everything else like that. Also, one fascinating thing is, though, they actually allow camping inside the cave. There's caverns big enough inside where they can do that and host several events actually inside the cave. I'm going to post a link to their website. That's going to be in the description below, and you guys can check that out. So we're going to go on the tour, and thanks for watching.
The cave here was discovered in 1849 by a bear hunter, and the bear hunter's name was Peter Kinder. Peter discovered the cave while hunting black bear one day along the Wisconsin River, which is just a few miles down in that direction. One day while hunting, Peter managed to shoot a bear, and he tracked it all the way to the entrance of our cave here, which at that point was just a large sinkhole in the top of the hill. So originally the cave was just a hill with a hole in the top of it, which would have been off to the right of that tree, kind of centered there. After Peter watched the bear go down into where the sinkhole was, he ran back to his camp along the Wisconsin River, and he got ropes, lanterns, and his Irish friend named Murphy. Both Peter and Murphy then came back to the cave, and Murphy lowered Peter in the cave after the bear. After Peter and Murphy got the bear out of the cave with the help of a few other people from the local area, they actually dragged it to the entrance and then lifted it straight out of where the sinkhole was. Peter and Murphy decided to go and tell the owners of the property, so people at one point owned a good portion of this valley, and they went and told the people that there was in fact a cave here. The people were really excited, and they decided to explore the cave, and in their exploration they found tons and tons of this stuff called black onyx, which is a jet black stone, looks a lot like obsidian, the volcanic rock, if you've ever seen what that looks like. After they explored it and found the black onyx, they decided to start mining out the cave for the black onyx. They mined the cave for many, many decades, up until around the 1930s. During the 1930s, 1938 is the official date, they commercialized the cave. And when you commercialize a cave, it means to put in all the lighting in the pathways, railings, stairs, anything like that. It makes it easier for us to walk in the cave, so we're not falling off the edges and any holes or anything like that. So 1938 is when they commercialized it. About 16 years later, in 1954, they decided to start up a program here at the cave called Cave Exploratory. So what a lot of people don't know is in the wintertime, our main business is Cave Exploratory. So different youth groups will come and camp in our cave overnight, and they spend the night in the cave, they sleep in there, and then they're allowed to explore as much of the cave as they like. That's been going on for 63 years. This next season is our 64th season of it. And that always runs from the last weekend in September to the last weekend in April. Right now the tunnels are too wet for us to send anybody down in there, so we don't do Cave Exploratory in the summertime. This first room we're in right now is called the Thunderbird Room, and it's actually the second largest room we have in the cave. Additionally, it's the only room with a full concrete floor, which you can see is beneath us. Most of the other rooms will have a concrete path and just kind of a gravel floor, rock floor. This room is used for several different purposes. In the wintertime, mainly we use it as a sleeping surface, so when youth groups are in here, they sleep in areas like this all throughout the cave. Another thing we use it for is weddings, parties, and receptions. Over the many years that the cave's been in business, we've had a few parties and a few different weddings that have actually occurred in this room of the cave. Additionally, way back when, they used this as a gift shop. So See, there's the wall right there.
Oh, yeah.
There used to be
Oh,
a
wow.
giant glass storefront that you can actually see in some of the old pictures we have up in the gift shop. There used to be a giant glass storefront, and you'd walk in, and the gift shop was in here. And then there were sliding glass doors. You can see there's metal tracks. The wall is right there. And you could come through the gift shop, and then you could go into the cave. Right now, the only other thing we really use it for, besides the sleeping surfaces, is we do a haunted cave. So the last Friday and Saturday of October, every year we do a haunted cave where we come in the cave and we decorate it up like a haunted house. And it goes about halfway through the cave, and then you loop out a back entrance of the cave. This year it was very popular. I think somewhere around 900 people walked through it. So there were some people that were waiting an hour and a half to 2 hours to get in to see the haunted cave.
So funny.
Every cave will go through a process known as scaling. Have you guys ever heard of scaling?
Yep.
It's the separation of layers. Scaling can range from large chunks separating from the ceiling to smaller chunks. In our cave, you'll see some really large areas, and you'll see some really small, like some of these ones you see around you, those are pretty small in comparison. Scaling actually looks like that one's happening, so that's slowly starting to shed. You can see rock just gently sags and breaks off. I'll show you a few formations we have names for that were actually created from scaling, where a large portion of the ceiling actually fell and landed and then balanced.
Those steps are not either, Josh. With
I know.
This bowl here is called the Cave Wishing Well. See, there's some coins in it. We also call it the bear's bathtub. So the bear that Peter Kinder was hunting, it was thought that the bear took its baths in here and it drank from water that was in here, so it's nice. Its own water source, nice sink. But of course, right now we just use it as a wishing well. So later on in the summer, next little room I'm going to show you is called the Hornet's Nest, and the Hornet's Nest was actually created by a whirlpool of water. When you get into the Hornet's Nest, you're going to notice all the sides are really smooth on the inside, and it resembles the inside of a beehive or a hornet's nest. That's where it gets its name. If you wanted to go down and see it, this one's a little trickier. The ceiling is pretty low, so you're going to want to watch your head, and also the stairs are a little slippery, and there's a rock protruding onto the stairs, so I'd recommend holding onto the railing.
Okay.
There's two things I want to show you in this area halfway down the stairs. The first is this long rock right here, which is called the Natural Bridge. So the Natural Bridge was one of those formations I was telling you that was created from scaling. So this large mass of rock actually just scaled or fell off the ceiling, and it landed on this rock over here, which I call Alligator Rock. And then there's a rock underneath, and it's balancing on those 2 points. The youth groups love the Natural Bridge because it saves them from having to walk around like we're going to do. So you walk around and go up the stairs on the other side. They just cut from the back of the bear's bathtub there straight across to the other side to something known as the Toadstool, which we're going to go see in a couple of minutes. If you look past, we call this Dracula's Castle there. You can actually see out on top of the Toadstool, and we'll go see that in just a couple of minutes.
So you can go ahead and walk right through that.
Yeah. This large formation right here that you're seeing is the Toadstool. So the Natural Bridge actually fell on the side of this, and it leads on top of it. We'll go see that in just a minute. The Toadstool, this upper part, is another instance where a large portion of the ceiling fell off. and it landed on a few things that are balancing it. Right here, this is a column now. See, that's all onyx. There's a few there. There's a side of the stalagmite over here. There's a few rocks underneath on that side, and then there's a thin edge that it's resting on the far end there. And you can notice if you look underneath, it's actually hollow underneath. So we have campers, watch out for the puddle in front there. We have campers that actually like to sleep underneath the toadstool, although there's always puddles of water under there, so I don't know why they like to do that. The other thing I want to show you in this area is this stalagmite, and this gives you a real good idea of how long it takes to make a formation in the cave. Like I said, inch every 100 years about on these stalactites. This is called 3 million year old birthday cake. It's thought to be about 3 million years old. You can see it's got the layers of cake on it. You can see it's completely onyx. So if you can imagine one drip at a time, you can see where the 3 million years comes in. Right now we are on top of the toadstool. The natural bridge is where all these piled up rocks are. That's where the natural bridge leads out. Other than that, one really cool thing to look at, over this wall, you can see down into an area known as the snake pit, which is the beginning of a tunnel system. So from here, there's a few different tunnels. And this is one of the favorite tunnel systems of the youth groups that come and stay here. I get a lot of kids that give some really nice compliments specifically about this tunnel system. This next formation here, this large mass, is actually called the Rock of Ages, and it's the oldest rock we have in the cave. It's also the largest rock we have in the cave. There's a lot of gravel coverage here and off the back. Originally, it was rumored that when they discovered the Rock of Ages, they had 50 men stand around the base of the rock and hug it, and not all 50 men could touch hands. So it was a very large rock. You got a lot of the gravel coverage for sleeping areas, and also it was very uneven. So you've seen if you look at the old pictures, you can see it was just very bumpy and rocky here, and off the back it was a giant drop. So filling it up, made it so they could put the pathway in, and also made sleeping surfaces. And I think around the Rock of Ages, if I remember right, I think we fit about 30 people in this area. So that takes a nice chunk out of the 300 to 350 we have here each weekend. Here you'll see there's a gravel chute, and that leads 27 feet up to the surface. If you wanted to try taking a look up, you'll probably be able to see an orange glow from the top. Let's see if I can get a flashlight up there for you.
Oh yeah. I get my camera in there.
Watch it.
I can see that.
All right. We are approaching the end of the cave. The path actually ends right where I'm standing. Back over all these rocks, there's a tunnel that goes back about 15 feet and then narrows to an area where nobody's been able to get into. And that's the official end of the cave, so it's back in there. Some cool features of this area we have. My favorite is this wall, which is absolutely littered in names, so it's covered in names. It's called Graffiti Wall. So this is an old miner tradition. The miners started it, and ever since then, people have been writing their names along this wall. If you wanted to go take a look at it, I don't know if you'd like to, you can actually see that there's a ton of names, and there's usually dates on them written. I think the oldest anyone on one of my tours has found was in 1896, they said. So the old ones are on there.
Put your head down.
No, I'm looking for names. Oh, there's one.
I'm telling you.
There's some stuff. Cool.
And it's the largest room we have in the cave, and you'll notice as we're walking just how large it is. At one point it was a lot larger. Estimates say that there's about 25 feet of gravel in the middle here. So the original room came 25 feet further down to a V-shaped peak. And up until the 1960s or so, there was about 30 feet of water in here. You can see there's a shelf behind me. So it's 5 feet to 25 feet. That's 30 feet of water. This was considered an aquifer, which is a cavern full of water. So I'll show you once we get around this corner, there's actually a well pipe that you can see up, and it goes really, really far up. And they were draining water from here. We do a similar thing now. We do have another source, another aquifer that we drain the water from for the campground. So the water you get up above, it's cave water. Sent all the water rushing out.
And why did they do that?
They wanted to know what was here, and there were no tunnels leading to it, from it, or near it. It was just a giant cavern, went down to a V-shaped peak at the bottom, so there wasn't much. The well pipe, right in here, is right here. If you guys wanted to try to take a look up it, I'll give you the flashlight. That one's a lot longer, about twice as long, so it's going to be hard to see with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, you can see the top. What a hoot.
Oh wow.
They were draining their water from the seabed. It's a nice big water tank.
So does this go out of the cave?
It does. I don't know. It's locked though, and I have a key. It's meant to be a little bit of a bat sanctuary behind there. So, the deal with this wall is it was put in 5 or 6 years ago by the Department of Natural Resources to help with the white nose syndrome. Now, if you guys have been in caves, you probably have heard about the white nose syndrome.
Yep.
What this does, it's part of our bat proofing project, where we pretty much bat proof the cave to keep the bats or majority of them out of the cave and away from the campers, because we have no idea where these Boy Scouts have been. So what this does is it keeps the bats out of the main drag of the cave while still giving them some room to call their own. So they do have an area to hibernate behind there. It's hard to describe. It's I think it's about 20 feet by 20 feet or something like that.
Full of bats.
There's just a few different patches, but this is the nicest one I can find in this area.
So this is black onyx.
It's starting to form. You won't find much of it. You'll find little thin areas of it thinly painted over a rock in the other parts, like what we walked today. Where you would find some really nice examples of black onyx would be down in the tunnels, because those weren't mined out. This is the nicest one I could find.
So when they were mining it out here, there was big chunks of it like that, and they just mined it out, took
They
it
just
out of
chipped it off. There's actually a chunk of black onyx. I'm not sure if it's from our cave. I would assume so, because it's here. There's a chunk of black onyx in the display case we have up in the game room. So I'll be sure to point that out to you before you guys leave, so you can see what a chunk of black onyx looks like. This is just starting to form, but it's neat to see how big of a chunk they took out. And this chunk is about 5 inches by 3 inches tall, or something like that. So I'll show that to you as we get there.
So this is black onyx, and it's found in the cave. They said they wasn't sure if this one wasn't mined here or not, but anyway, this is what it looks like. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for the next one.